Good morning. It's time for Ask Allison. This week, it's Ask Allison about capital campaigns. Well, ask Allison, am I ready for a capital campaign? We're going to go over some basic things to let you know if you are. So, here's a timeline of a capital campaign. And if you're just getting into fundraising, there's something in my lipstick. I think it's a hair. My goodness, I got it. There's always something on Ask Allison that's not part of the program. Today, it was the random hair. Okay, a timeline for a capital campaign goes like this. Now, capital campaigns are what we tend to do in our nonprofit organization when we are needing something larger, like a new building, either renovating, building from scratch, needing land. It's usually a large project that takes multi-year pledges, and it's something that is a dream of the organization or isn't something that can just come out of the regular operating budget. So capital campaign is a larger project, and most nonprofits get to a point where they need to do a capital type project and have a campaign like this. So this today is about, are you ready for a capital campaign? Is your organization ready? Are your board members ready? This is what we're going to find out today. I'll give you some information and then you can decide. And if you'd like to get some of this stuff sent to you, I'm glad to send it. You just drop me a comment. Okay, so a timeline of a capital campaign goes something like this. There's the pre-campaign planning, which takes quite a bit of time. A feasibility study, and there's all types of feasibility studies, but that helps you plan whether you think you're able to raise the amount of money that you're shooting for. Then there's campaign planning. Then there's the quiet phase. Then there's the kickoff. Then there's the public phase, and then there's after the campaign or post-campaign. So those are the seven levels or the 7 items in the timeline of a capital campaign. It can take 18 to 24 months. It can take 3 years. Most pledges are done 3 to 5 years from your donors. So you're still collecting those pledges long after the post-campaign or the public phase is launched. So just know that campaigns take a bit of time, but it's always worth it. And it always grows your donor base and it grows your organization literally and figuratively. So are you ready for one of these? Let's jump in and decide. Let's first look at a board self-assessment. So you could send this out to your board and let them answer and get collective answers from your board members to see how they rate themselves and the full board. So here are some things to ask. Our board members are fully committed to a campaign. The majority of our members attend meetings regularly. All board members make annual financial contributions. Board members actively support and participate in fundraising. Board members are willing to solicit gifts from other individuals. There is an effective orientation and oversight of the board. The strategic plan has been discussed and accepted by the board. Our board fully understands this project and its ramifications. Our board is fully supportive of this project. Our board is excited about this project. That is the board self-assessment. And if you answered yes, somewhat, no, or I don't know, then that's how you gauge if you're ready. Wherever you check a no or I don't know, your organization should strengthen that area before launching into a campaign. So think about that. Like I said, I can share all of this with you. Just drop me a message in the comments or send me a slide into my DMs, whatever. I will share these checklists with you. Okay, here is the campaign readiness assessment. So, once again, this is yes, no, somewhat, or I don't know. Wherever you check a no or an I don't know, that's what you need to strengthen before launching a campaign. So, here are a few around this is overall. So you might hear some repeats from the board list because there's a board section on this readiness checklist. Our board is active in fundraising right now. Our board is in full agreement with our vision for a capital campaign. Our board is willing to be more active than it is now. We have board members who have been volunteers in a capital campaign before. We have board members who have access to potential campaign donors. We have board members who can be potential campaign volunteer leaders. Our board members will be able to fund 15 to 30% of the campaign's total goal. So that's under the board section of campaign readiness. Next, volunteer leadership. Can you enlist top leaders in your community to help lead your campaign? Do you have influential people currently involved with your cause? Can you identify potential campaign leaders and create a plan to enlist them? And next, still on the campaign readiness assessment, next section is prospects. Can you identify a lead donor? 20% of the goal. Do you have well-cultivated and involved donors? Can you identify 20 potential sources of major gifts right now? Have you allocated funds to staff up for the campaign? Do you have gift acceptance policies established? Do you have experienced, capable staff? That's your development office section. Let me say that again because I kind of ran it into, so prospects, where can you identify a lead donor, which is around 20% of the goal? Do you have well-cultivated and involved donors? Can you identify 20 potential sources of major gifts right now, this very second? And then your development office, have you allocated funds to staff up for the campaign? Do you have gift acceptance policies established? Do you have experienced, capable staff? Now, for our plan and the case. Is the need well established, urgent, and understood? Have you articulated your vision in a compelling presentation? Are your capital projections and budgets complete? Can you convey the impact of your project in vivid, emotional terms? In the image. Are you a leader in your service area? Is there a confidence in your organization and its leadership? Are you communicating your results to the community? Are you visible in the community? So, those are some things you have to think about before starting a capital campaign. And if any of the answers are no or I don't know, then that means those are the areas you can work on with your board to get started, so that you're more prepared when you finally do get started and you don't launch out there starting something before you're quite ready. Now, all of these things are what are known in capital campaigns. But one resource that I gleaned this information from is the Capital Campaign Pro. And it is a group that was started by Amy Eisenstein and Andrea Kilstadt. And so they offer several different ways to do feasibility studies, capital campaigns, and all this information is in their toolkit. So if you've never signed up or heard Andrea Kilstadt or Amy Eisenstein, you need to follow those two people on your socials. And then you need to look up Capital Campaign Pro. First of all, they offer a way for an organization to lead themselves through a campaign with their toolkit. They also offer a consultant to lead you through the toolkit and through your campaign. Because I subscribe to the Capital Campaign Toolkit or the Capital Campaign Pro, I am able to use their assessments and their all of their information and lead you through a capital campaign. But I'll tell you, you need to look at these first assessments and do these exercises with your board so that you will know if you are ready for a capital campaign. They are hard. Now, my experience was beautiful, but I'll tell you, we were a smaller organization and it took years for us to be ready. And I used to worry about that. Why did it take us so long to start our capital campaign? But as I looked back, I realized we were successful because we waited and got other things accomplished first. When I started at that organization, we didn't even have a development department. So it took years to build those relationships and build something solid that, people knew about. That visibility in the community, that takes time to build. And so even though it seemed to take us a long time to get there, I can see after looking back now that we did everything we needed to do so that our campaign was successful. It was one of the hardest things I ever did, but it's one of the things that I'm most proud of. Where I worked was a job training organization for adults with disabilities. And we were in a building that my first day at work, I knew was not adequate. They had made it work for so long, but it was not adequate. And I knew they needed a new building. And it was one of the first things in my job interview that was talked about. It was one of the first things, when I started there, you could just tell the need. Excuse me. Always got to have a sneeze and a hair. Anyway, there were years that we did planning and that we thought about it, we worked toward it, but it wasn't until we hired our consultant, which I will tell you, that firm is still out there today doing great work. They are working with several of my favorite organizations and have in the past. They used to be called Hartsook. Now they're called Kinetic. Matt Beam was our consultant. He was out of Kansas City. My friends are working with Karen Cox. It's another good firm that you can go to get guidance through a capital campaign and a feasibility study. And there's always that question about feasibility study versus non-feasibility study. It is important to do some sort of research and some sort of organization around your prospects and your board members and all that. These readiness assessments, that's what they're so good at, because you cannot just shout out that you need $6.5 million and think that's all just going to fall in your lap. It's not. It takes a lot of time and a lot of organization to get there. And you have to be ready with your development department, your development team, your volunteer leaders, your capital campaign cabinet, your board members, your executive director, and your other staff members. You have to be ready to launch into something like a capital campaign. But the feasibility study part is where you gather all that information. And there are so many ways to do it. You can pay a firm to do one, which is a pretty high price. You can walk yourself through one, which can work, especially if you look into the Capital Campaign Pro website. Or you can have somebody guide you through it and help you, like a consultant, instead of doing the whole thing for you, have them guide you through it so that you stay on track. But the feasibility study is where you find all the answers, like how much can we raise? How do we set our goal? Well, if you need a new building and you've kind of, batted around that it's going to cost $10 million, well, the first thing you've got to do is find out of your donors and your board and your VIPs and your leadership, can you raise, the majority of that money with the inner circle? And then when you have these, some people call it the learning tour, where you go visit with all your donors and find out, are they thinking that you need this too? And if so, how much are they willing to contribute? All of those conversations and all of that time spent with them on the front end, in the quiet phase, in the planning phase, that helps you be so much, that helps your success so much more than just launching a capital campaign. And people always ask me about that quiet phase. It drives them bananas because they want to just shout it out and tell the world, this is what we need. And they just want to yell it and say it, and they think it's just going to happen. But here's the deal. When you launch something like that, the quiet phase is so important because you're doing your work to find out just how much is out there for your organization, and just what your followers, what they're feeling, what they're ready to commit to. That helps you know how much you can raise. And so if the news gets out ahead of time, what it does is you might get someone out there that sends you $1,000 because they're so excited. But then no one on the team had a chance to visit with that donor and talk to them about how we really needed $10,000 from them. And so you want that time to plan and process and meet with your donors before it's just launched out into the world. The other thing that happens is once you launch it out in public and publicly, it's real hard for the general population and public to understand how long things take. So you might have a sign, put up on your new property that says future home of, and all those people that pass that sign, after several months, they're thinking, well, when are they going to get started on that? Why isn't it? I thought they said they were building a new building. Well, something must be wrong because nothing's happening. They don't get how many years it takes to get to the part where you break ground and you start construction. So it's best just to keep that all in the inner circle until it's time to do a public launch. And you always want to be 60, 70, 80% with, toward the goal. Have, 60, 70, 80% raised before you ever launch publicly, because you want the public to help get you over the top. Because the general population, they won't be able to help get you to the 60, 70, 80%. They, most of those people, you're bringing new friends to the mission. You need them towards the end to inch you over the goal and to get involved and learn more about you. But at the beginning, it's all behind the scenes, and you want to have most of it raised before you ever announce to the world what's happening. Then once you announce, it's like, we have this brick campaign, we have this tree on the wall, we have this plan, and it's people from all walks of life can be a part of the campaign. But those first years and those first donations need to be the big commitments, the big guts of the campaign. So, capital campaigns, they are tricky. But after the campaign, your organization and your development department grow so much that you have to, you all of a sudden you have all of these donors to cultivate and continue to express how happy you are to finally have an office that's not a closet, or to have a storage area for those supplies that are so urgently needed by the participants, or the fact that all of the program coordinators have a place where they can go and help the people you serve in a more professional manner because they have everything they need in a building that was built just for them. So, good luck to you. And if you need these checklists or assessments, please do not hesitate to drop me a line. I will share them with you. And we can figure out, are you ready for a capital campaign just yet? Or are you ready for the pre-planning stage of the capital campaign and the feasibility to see if you're able to raise the money? Those are the big questions about capital campaigns. And I know the general population doesn't get that quiet phase and public phase and all these timelines and levels and all that. They don't get that. But true development people, they know. And you have to listen to them, because that is the formula for a successful capital campaign. Okay, what will we talk about next time? What will we talk about next time? I'll find us a good topic, something that will motivate you and get you going. We'll see what it's going to be. Thanks for joining me. Capital campaigns, are you ready? Are you not? Or are you just ready to get ready? Thanks so much. Ask Allison. Woo!